Hello, and welcome to Dark Roast. In today's episode, I cover the strange connection of the Mothman and the Silver Bridge collapse. On November 12, 1966, 5 men who were digging a grave at a cemetery in West Virginia claimed to have seen a man-like figure fly low from the trees over their heads. This is often identified as the first known sighting of what became known as the Mothman. Just 3 days after, on November 15, 1966, 2 young couples from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, told police they saw a large gray creature whose eyes glowed red when the car's headlights picked it up. They described it as a large flying man with 10-foot wings, following their car while they were driving in an area outside of town. One sighting told of strange patterns that appeared on a man's television screen one evening, followed by a mysterious sound just outside of his home. Shining a flashlight toward the direction of the noise, the man supposedly witnessed 2 red eyes resembling bicycle reflectors looking back at him. His dog ran after what he saw and was then never seen again. Dr. Robert L. Smith, Associate Professor of Wildlife Biology at West Virginia University, dismissed the notion that a flying monster was staking out the town, and instead attributed the sightings to a sandhill crane, which stands almost as tall as the average adult man and has bright red flesh around its eyes. But more and more sightings were reported in Point Pleasant area over the next year as the legend of the Mothman took place. Now let's cut to 5:05 p.m. on December 15th, 1967, 13 months after the first Mothman sighting. The Silver Bridge was an I-bar chain suspension bridge built in 1928 and named for the color of its aluminum paint. The bridge carried U.S. Route 35 over the Ohio River, connecting Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and Gallipolis, Ohio. Charlene Wood was pregnant at the time she drove from her job at a hair salon. She was moving at 15 miles per hour as she approached the bridge, which was filled with truckers, commuters, and Christmas shoppers. As she drove over it, she felt it begin to shake. Wood put her car in reverse and was able to move back a short distance before the rocking of the bridge stalled her car. She was 4 feet away from the bridge, within 60 seconds, the bridge rocked and collapsed into the river. In all, 31 vehicles went into the Ohio River that day, sending 64 people into its 44-degree waters. Of the 64 who went in, 46 died. The collapse remains one of the deadliest bridge disasters in United States history. The Department of Transportation conducted a detailed investigation of the wreckage which pointed to the cause of the collapse. The cause of the collapse was a failure of the 13th I-bar in a suspension chain due to a small defect 0.1 inches deep. A couple of sightings of the Mothman were said to have occurred near the bridge before the incident. Rumors eventually spread that the bridge collapse was connected to the Mothman in some way, and that he could have been warning of a dark premonition. This was the beginning of the Mothman being associated as an omen of doom. The Mothman eventually began being reportedly seen all over the world before tragedy struck, and the creature went from the small-town folklore to a global monster icon. In 1970, the author John Keel popularized the legend that the Mothman sightings, of whom began in 1966, was seen on the bridge near the time of the accident, though whether as a warning or the cause is uncertain. Indeed, today, the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where Silver Bridge was anchored, there's an annual Mothman festival and a large statue of the monster. Whether you believe that the Mothman caused or predicted the collapse, his legacy lives on in the small town where tragedy once struck.